Welcome, everyone, to A Mexican and a Redneck Father of the World. We are your hosts and surrogate fathers, Juan and Ben. Today, we'll be discussing, do you and your spouse share the same goals?
Do you?
I believe so.
That's good.
I mean, I tell her what to do, and she does it.
Well, then you share the same goals.
Yeah.
The goal is to obey Juan.
Blindly obey me. Don't ask questions. Just do what you're told.
If you need an opinion, I'll give it
I'll
to
give
you.
it to you. Can we delete that?
We probably should edit that out. That's sad. Some people actually live in that life.
Yeah, that's a sad life.
But we don't,
That's a
because
sad life.
we have goals. I was thinking about this episode and this title, and like, oh man, this is, yeah, because I've observed this in marriages. You know, the husband will have a goal, the wife will have a goal, and I think when you get married, you have, hopefully there's the same value system, kind of the same understanding of where you are in life.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I think sometimes people have secret goals.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Oh, yeah.
and it's like, well, I kind of always wanted to do this, but I know, she would never want to give up the income so I could pursue my passion, or she's like, oh, I've always wanted to live here, but he just doesn't like that location. Whatever the arguments may be, and it's
And those are dangerous.
those are, because it's like there's a lack of communication. And it's
If you
not
marry
good.
somebody if you marry somebody and you don't have these same goals at the beginning, and you're marrying somebody with the intent of like, oh, they'll change their mind, or I'll change them. No. Goes back to that friendship when they were talking about the road trip. Just leave their asses at the bus stop.
Just leave them, as long as it's safe.
Before you're married.
Before you're married,
Once you're married,
you're stuck.
well, kind of, but
Don't
yeah,
get divorces.
yeah.
Don't do that.
We don't believe in that.
It's one of the D words we don't like using.
We believe in commitment, and we believe in making a proper commitment. Going back to the statement, you got to have the same goals.
Right. We're basically marriage counselors. I mean, you already have a doctor in front of your name because you wrote it there.
Yeah.
So
I don't know if I want to write marriage counselor because that's a lot, and
mm,
I'm not a good speller.
yeah,
That's why I was like, even with doctor, I don't write doctor out because I don't know how to spell it correctly.
just DR.
Dr. Yeah.
Period.
So I'm a Dr.
That's it.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. No. I mean, but it's important for both people to clearly identify their goals and values in life,
Mm-hmm.
and they need to work towards them together with loving accountability. Like, you need to give them grace when they're not 100% in line with your goals. And goals, and this is a strange approach, because you think about it, a lot of people get married in their like mid-20s, early 20s. It's kind of a common age to be married.
Yeah, in the U.S., I would say that. Yeah.
In the U.S., yeah.
Yeah.
And even, in your 20s. And I saw a comedian one time at Bonnaroo, and he said, well, I'm in my mid-30s. He's like, and I'm getting a divorce. He's like, but it doesn't seem strange to me. He's like, because the stuff, I can't remember the guy's name. He said the stuff that I liked in my early 20s, I hate now. And he's like, including my ex-wife. I was like, that's such like a good observation and terrible like divorce joke.
Yeah.
But it's true. It's and I don't know if it's like people naively go into marriage and they think it's going to be one way, and like you said, they'll just change their mind.
Yeah.
And it's like, nah, when you get married, that's kind of who you're stuck with. They might be able to change a few bad habits, but you need to go into that marriage assuming this person is who I'm with.
Yeah. And all their bad habits only intensify.
They'll get worse unless they love you enough to try to make them better.
Yeah.
But that's a variable, not a constant.
Yes.
That's important. Like, I'm never going to give up chicken livers. And my wife knows that. And everyone in my house thinks sardines and chicken livers are disgusting except me. And I'm like, can I have some more? It's terrible.
The other day, I was cooking some cow heart. Have you ever had that?
I don't know. Maybe.
Nah,
It sounds good.
man, I was so looking forward to it because I haven't had it in a long time. And but the person that they gave us this heart, but they had it in their freezer for like a year, so they're like, yeah, we don't know if it's still good. And it was like right on the edge, but it had crossed the edge to was more on the bad side than on the good side.
It'll be all right.
Yeah. Well, no, it was like yeah. And Brittany comes into the house. I'm like, because I'm cooking it. I'm like, oh, this smells really good. Like, there's like, oh, this is not too bad. And she goes into the house, and instantly, she started gagging and like she was gonna puke. And I was like, I was so heartbroken. I was like, oh, it's bad. And she's like, I can't smell it. I can't be around here. And then I'm like, it's not that bad. And I go to taste it, and I was like, oh, it is bad.
It's real bad.
Yeah. So I had to throw it away. But yeah, I had to change that.
And you have those bad habits, and I observed it growing up. My dad was a slob, and just leave clothes everywhere, leave magazines lying around. He wouldn't wash dishes. My mom was super clean, still is. Picks up all of her clothes, puts them away. Dishes are always cleaned after every meal, and so that's one thing I observed. Like, what level of frustration from their marriage when it was good could they have eradicated having known that about each other?
And working with each other, because
yeah,
man, I see that with my parents. My parents they're still together, but in no disrespect to my parents, but it's almost like they've just learned to tolerate each other. They've never learned to work with each other. And that's something that I see with my mom and my dad. And I'm like, you guys have such great qualities and such great strengths. If you just take the time to learn how to work with each other and how to operate off of each other's strengths, you could have such a better life.
Oh yeah.
And it's man, it makes me sad because I'm glad that I've learned that lesson, but I hate that I've learned it by doing the opposite of what my parents are doing and not by imitating them. But it's like, man, it's sharing the goals, sharing the same goals. It's so important. Like my dad will come out with some really good ideas, but he doesn't share his ideas. He doesn't actually like share his plan. And then my mom gets frustrated because it's like he's doing his thing, but she's not a part of it. And then her input is not necessarily like valued. So like how I was joking at the beginning, as far as like, yeah, I just tell you what to do, and you like my dad's like that.
Oh,
and it's and I'm just like, but he doesn't see it. He doesn't see like this is a bad way of living. It's just like, no, you're the problem because you're not listening to me. You're not supporting me. I'm like, no, there may be some of that, but you're not willing to actually. You don't care to share your goals. You just want to tell people your goal and do it.
Well, and I found in my marriage, my wife and I, and goals, maybe we need to define that a little better, because I think a lot of people think of goals as, well, we want to live in this neighborhood. We want to drive this car. It's like, those are material goals. And they're not bad goals, but they're not the end-all, be-all goals.
It's a good starting point to have, though.
It's to say, oh, okay, we want to live in this neighborhood. We like this type of car. Because if you're really into vintage sports cars and she's really practical and wants nothing to do with them, that needs to be an identifier right there. Like if she's like, well, you're wasting all your money on that vintage sports car and you should just be driving a practical car like me. It's like, well, wait a second. That right there is a good indicator of there's going to be an issue. Y'all need to clear it up before you get married. Because marriage is hard. I don't recommend it for everybody. Not everyone's good at it.
No, marriage is not something to just go into and be like, yeah. Marriage is not going to make your life better in itself. Like, you getting married is not going to make yourself better. It's going to give you an opportunity to have a better life if you're willing to work at it.
Right. It is an opportunity to be better.
Yes.
It itself, if you're just hoping you'll get married and everybody will live happily ever after, you're reading the wrong book.
That's such a freaking lie.
It's a lie.
That's it's a lie. That and they live happily ever after. Like for a day. Like, yeah, anyways.
No, but you got to work. I mean, there's so much opportunity in marriage. It is every bit of what you try to make it. Both spouses. Like it's important for everybody to be contributing, but your goals, are, well, what do you want? Like my wife and I, we want to raise our children and to reinforce in ourselves, in our community, that relationships are most important.
Mm-hmm.
That's a really big thing for us. Being accountable is important. So we share those values, discipline, responsibility, hard work. We find those to be very important things. And those are more of the shared goals I'm talking about. I mean, yeah, we both like the idea of owning a farm, and we're hoping to do that one day. We like the same vehicles and movies and, entertainment and all that stuff. But like that true, you and I are one person. How do we continue to grow towards one person and not two individuals? And that closeness, that vulnerability has to be increased every day.
Mm-hmm.
And that's that shared goal.
How do you do that, Ben? Do you just tell her what to do?
I tell her what I want. I write it down. I hand her a sheet of paper, notarized and dated, and then she does it. Isn't that how every marriage?
That's what I've been missing.
You got to get a notarized document.
The notary. Yes. Mm.
I'm actually becoming a notary public, so I'll just notarize all your documents.
Hey,
on a bi-weekly basis.
That'd be great.
That's not how it's done.
Oh man.
You really have to tell her where you want to be. Like that's what I found. It's like I got to tell my wife where I want to be, but then I got to tell her this is why we can't be there. I want to own a farm outright, but I don't have the money for that. So it's saying I want to own a farm so we can raise our kids in the country. They can see animals. They can learn about growing your own stuff. That's really important to us. Understanding, there's not just food in the grocery store. This is where it starts with the seed in the ground.
No, the why behind it.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And like really searching yourself and say, well, what is my goal?
Yeah.
Is it just more sports on the weekend and life as usual? Because some people are cool with that.
Yeah.
Hanging out on the weekend, going to work through the week, just cruising. And that's your goal. Hey, good for you. I hope you get there.
Yeah, because marriage is such a beautiful thing if you're willing to work at it. But
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's this like the Hollywood view of marriage, like what you see on TV is like, oh, the husband and wife, they go to work, and then they come to work. They may have dinner together. They may not. They see each other on the weekend, but on the weekend it's like full of activities or sports and this and that. But it's like it's a very passing by relationship. Like they see each other in passing, but they're not actually doing stuff together. But man, when you're able to come together with that person, that individual, and it's almost kind of like a business, and then your ideas, her ideas come and they mesh, and you're sharing the same goal. Like, hey, this is what we're trying to accomplish.
Oh, yeah.
So while you're working on this part of the business, she's working on this part of the business, and then you're able to come together and amplify your work to where it's multiplied. And then that goal that used to be that by yourself was like, man, that's unattainable. Well, now you're working with her, and it's like you're accomplishing those goals. And then when you start doing that together, it's like, wow, we can do this. We can really do this.
Oh yeah.
And then I think that's been really amazing. Like seeing that, and I've seen that in my marriage, where it's like goals that we had when we first got married. Oh wait, we hit that. We can hit the next goal.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we accomplished that.
Right. And the follow through is just as important. You may say, I want to do this. And then your wife's like, great, go do that thing. And you go do that thing. And then she's like, why aren't you doing the thing you told me you wanted? I thought you said you wanted to be, a podcaster. Why aren't you recording every other week? And why aren't you working on it throughout the weekdays? Put your energy into podcasting. That's what you said you want to do. So, I try to do this. And if my wife just sees me watching TV or not really working on it, she's going to say, well, why aren't you doing something? I thought you wanted to do this. I was in line with you and you didn't do it. So why would I trust you the next time you get some other idea or goal? Because then it becomes a harebrained scheme, right? It's just it's just another thing that he says he wants to do, but then he does it and he might only go halfway into it, or he'll go all the way in and be like, oh, I don't like this. Never mind. And then your goals actually just become these vapid things that you're using to escape from whatever else might be going on inside of you.
That's very deep.
That is deep.
I have to chew on that.
Well, chew on it.
Man, that's good.
Suck on it a little bit. But your follow through is just as important. Did you like that? Chew on it, suck on it. That's good.
This is definitely a man show, I guess.
For men. It's for men between the ages of 25 and 38. No, it's for everyone.
No, that's good. Man, that's good.
But is your follow through?
Yeah.
You know, I want to be, you know, how many people do you hear say, oh, I started going to college. I wanted to get my bachelor's degree or my master's. And it's like, well, how far did you get? Oh, I dropped out after a year and a half.
Yeah.
Like, that's such a common thread. What do you do now? Oh, I work, you know, driving a forklift. And it's like, but didn't you want to go to college? Yeah, I did, but it got hard, so I quit.
Man.
Or I partied. And it's like, man, you can't just set goals and then not go for them.
Yeah. You know, and with that even being said, though, like, if you have failed to follow through with your goals, go back.
Yeah.
Pick them up. Finish it.
Yeah. Finish that career or that not career.
Yeah.
Degree.
But like, if there was a reason, like, man, when you got married and you said, man, we're going to do this, 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 and this, go back to that if you haven't done it and do what you said you're going to do. The issue is that not how long it took you to do it, but did you actually do what you said you were going to do?
Right. Don't let time be the only measurement for your success. Let the completion of the goal, you know, be your measurement. I used to play baseball when I was a little kid, and, you know, whether we win or lose, it was always reinforced to me by my dad. Like, you played. You showed up, you swung the bat. Yeah, you struck out, but you showed up and swung the bat. Yeah, they put you in right field because you were really bad at everything else, but you sat in right field all 9 innings, and you showed up with your jersey on, and you looked great, and you're ready, and you were not the best player, but you showed up and played. And the fact that you completed that journey, you know, you went through the whole season knowing good and well you're not the best, but you still tried. He's like, that's just as important or almost as important as winning. He's like, yeah, it feels good to win. Yeah, you want the big trophy. Yeah, you want to be the best, but can't be the best at everything. But you can still try and stick with it. And that's the most important thing, too, about goals. Everything's the most important thing.
Man, that's so good, Ben. Other than that, any other closing thoughts?
Nope. Just want to tell everyone thank you for listening to A Mexican and a Redneck Father of the World. We love you, and we're proud of you.
Sure are.
Sure are.